Hi, Darian. I'm looking at some of the changes that you made from draft three to your final analysis, and I just wanted to give you a little bit of advice on that. I saw that you made several changes to the wording, and I thought that was good, especially in this part here where you're talking about the symbolization in the whole movie, right? About care and notice for the family's right of health. But what I want to see here more in the draft a little bit is more of a structural change. So you start in the beginning, and I definitely think that opening sentence is catchy. But what we want to do is to be more specific about how this relates back to the scene in the film. So you talk about the loaded weapon, and you talk about some of the things that could be confusing with that. You're talking about that he's cut from part-time to whole-time, and that's the premise behind the movie. I think that you could go ahead and just say that this is the premise behind the movie, but then you need to, whenever you write your thesis statement here about the extreme measures to make sure the son stays alive and gets the treatment he deserves, you need to include how the scene fits in with the rest of the film. As you said, that the film is kind of a study there on a, a study on how somebody could go to extremes and go nuts by being caught up in a system that's unfair, the healthcare system. But you, in this first support paragraph here, you tell us he's holding hostage. Everybody knows what he's doing. I think you need to start with just a little tiny element there saying what this scene is about, or you could say a central scene in the movie where the character decides to take this extreme action. You need to frame what that scene is. And don't include Denzel. You want to include the name of the character, as you want to make a differentiation between the actor and the character. But what you're saying is that he's ignored throughout the whole movie, so we need to know how this scene represents his fireback response to being ignored or to not have the means to take care of his family. And you talk about the double cross. I think you're going to have to find a way of kind of blending those two ideas, the double cross and his kind of reaction to that, or that the double cross brings on this reaction. Now, I really love here, and when you're talking about in the scene, it shows some of the cops face to face with the bird's eye view. Your addition of these technical details, Darian, is great, and I really want to congratulate you for that. But I want you to talk about kind of this stick here between the rules that we have in society, the rules that the cops have, the rules that Denzel Washington's character has to follow, and how those rules are promoting kind of this idea that actually is unfair. I don't know about this cherry on top of the ice cream. Maybe we can think of a little better analogy, because we don't really want to think about a dying kid with something as nice as Dairy Queen. So I like that you're definitely tailoring that to your readers' expectations and needs. But I think that we can kind of change that to a different metaphor there. We talked before about that middle class working family. Why don't you talk about... Why don't you talk about that actually in the beginning a little more? That we want to know kind of about the values that you think the film is expressing. And you're doing a great job here at the end, but we need to see how this works in the very beginning. Okay, and I honestly think that in some of these parts when you're talking about plot, you can cut that a little bit. I like when you talk about the sick and people saying that he needs help, and then the crowd responding, like the crowd getting on his side. And I think that really, really works. But what we want to see